Slow down, watch safely. We've got men at work today. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Sassy Girl on 4th Avenue in historic downtown Conway. We're focused on column writing. We're visiting with one of the Myrtle Beach Herald, our show sponsors, columnist, Min Alexander, and a crime victim advocate for Horry County Police. Good morning, Min.
That's correct.
And right after Christmas,
to you.
Love getting you in. Of course,
Yeah,
what about this Sassy Girl?
absolutely.
Isn't this a
Yes.
nice place?
Oh, this is a wonderful place.
You've been over here before?
Yes, I have.
Absolutely.
Yes, I have. I love it.
I hope you and Raymond had a nice Christmas.
We had a wonderful Christmas
Great.
with my daughter from Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
I have a son in Philadelphia, but he didn't come down this
didn't come
year.
down?
No,
No, why
we
not?
missed that. He's recently married.
Oh.
And, he has other responsibilities like his
Being
in-laws.
newlywed, yeah. He's in love. That's
He's
right.
in love,
That's
yes,
right.
yes. He got married in September.
And you just have two?
I have two children.
You have two. It's great having one down here. And now you've mentioned, I think, off camera that Karen has 4 daughters. She and
Karen-
John have 4 daughters.
Karen and John have 4 daughters.
Wow.
They are 12, 10, and 7-year-old twins.
My Lord.
It's a handful.
That is a
It's
big
a handful.
commitment. Absolutely. Do y'all get to spend a lot of time with them?
You
get to see 'em pretty regularly?
Pretty
Yeah.
regularly. It's almost every week.
Right.
On a weekend, either a Saturday or a Sunday.
Sure. Golly, man.
But we don't get to babysit as much as I would like to because
Yeah.
my working
And
hours
you're
are so
working, that's
exactly.
right. What about the crime victim advocate? How did that door open up, man?
Well, it's a long story, like all my
We got
stories.
25 minutes. We'll take a little time on it. I may cut you off at some point, but no. Give it
Well,
up.
when I was in college, I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Is that right?
Yes.
FBI.
FBI agent. And Puerto Rico being a matriarchal society, my mother said, no way.
Right.
So I went as far as taking the LSAT exams, thinking that you could become an FBI agent by being a lawyer.
A lawyer, right.
At that time, you had to have a bachelor's in accounting. And I do
Really? In
not
accounting?
like accounting.
Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
went into the LSATs, and I was ready to do that in order to get into the FBI, and then I got married instead. So that has always been in the back of my, of my mind.
Right.
And I really see a connection between law enforcement and social work, because it is for the good of the community at large.
Right. Sure. Of course, you've gotten a master's in social work.
In social work,
Bryn Mawr.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then I did not become an FBI agent. Had I waited a little bit longer, shortly thereafter they changed their policies, the FBI did.
Right.
And you could, with any kind of a degree, become an FBI agent if you were bilingual.
Is that right?
Yes.
With any kind of degree?
Yes.
You wouldn't even had to have the
That's right,
master's.
but by then I was married
Yeah.
and had children, so
Right.
that didn't materialize. Then here in Horry County, interpreting for the courthouse,
Right. Sure.
I learned a lot about the judicial system, and continued to flare my interest
Right,
in law
sure.
enforcement. And I saw an ad on the bulletin board one day when I went to interpret that they were looking for a crime victim advocate, and I saw the link right away, and I said, I could do this, and they probably need me because of the language.
Sure.
So sure enough, I kind of became involved in law enforcement after 30 years of social work.
That is amazing.
And I love it.
Yeah,
I just
you do.
love it.
Now, that's a
I
pretty
just love
serious
it.
thing, though, as a crime victim advocate. I mean, you're
Right.
dealing with folks,
Oh, yes.
obviously on a confidential basis.
Confidential and at a time of crisis.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be you have to have big shoulders in order to carry all that grief from all the people who have been assaulted, criminal domestic violence victims,
right.
and all that. And but you have to also learn not to take it home. And
To Raymond.
fortunately,
Yeah, and to- yeah.
fortunately, because of the 30 years of social work,
Yeah,
I have learned
you
that.
know how
I know to
to
leave
leave
my work at work.
That's very important. What was it at an early age that got you excited about the FBI?
FBI.
And of course, growing up in Puerto Rico, yes, right.
I think, movies.
Right.
And the whole idea of doing
FBI
good.
Agents at the time that got
I don't know, but I'm
a
frustrated Jodie Foster. I think movies, perhaps, and I also the whole idea in my house. We talked a lot about justice because my mother was involved in court houses, in interpreting, not only interpreting. She worked for judges, so we talked about the law and about justice and good points and the bad points, etc. Right. So it always has been an interest of mine.
Do you still have family in Puerto Rico, Mom?
I have an aunt who is 90 years old. Actually, she's 91 now because last year we went to Puerto Rico for her 90th birthday party.
Yeah.
And she was 90, and I only have her and some cousins and one sister.
Yes. Yes. So everyone matriculated, what's that word? They ended up. I mean, do you have brothers and sisters that ended up in the U.S. or were you the one?
I have a brother who lives in Long Island, in Brightwaters, Long Island, but the rest of my family is on the island, and I only have one sister left. One died, and so the cousins.
It was a big family. Yes.
Cousins and. Well, they're all in Puerto Rico.
Right, right. Is Min short for something, man?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Get that out.
And very few people know this. I guess now everybody in Orange County will know.
Yeah, that's right. Let the secret out. I'm sorry, you don't have to. Yeah.
My name is Herminia.
Herminia.
Herminia, Herminia.
Okay.
And Herminia is the feminine of Herman. So if your name was the feminine of Herman, you'd probably change it too. And my father's name was Herminio. So this is the feminine of Herman.
That is fascinating, man. Well, I'm glad you shared that. I'm sorry I asked you on camera, and you
and
could have said,
we've shortened it throughout the years,
That's right. That's right.
Because Herminia, and then my last name is long too.
Yes.
It doesn't fit in the line to charge something.
No,
the credit card signature does not fit, so I had to.
Then Herminia Alex. That's right, or something else. Yeah.
Right.
That's fascinating. Of course, writing a column is something that really can keep you pretty dang busy. I mean, every week comes very fast.
It comes extremely fast, which you just keep your eyes and ears open, and you choose an idea or a subject or a topic that has been discussed either anywhere. It could be at a restaurant, at the office, on radio, TV, whatever. Read and just develop that.
And
so
the
it's
idea
fun.
For Solo in America, it's that opportunity of being. How did the title come about? I know.
The title,
secret's coming out.
You know how the title came about. You had
an
interest in this whole topic because you speak Spanish very well. You don't
no.
And you had a whole lot, when we met, the first time we met, you had a whole lot of .coms in Spanish, and one of them was Solo en America. But I mean, you threw, like, I think in a short time that we met, at Tofino's.
Right, at Tofino's, yes, back in late '03. Yes.
Correct. You threw about 5 or 6, and each one was better than the next one. So somehow we settled on Solo en America.
You highlighted a very important point from folks from Latin America. Otherwise, when they hear America, they're not necessarily thinking of Los Estados Unidos. They're not thinking about
the United States.
They're thinking about, are they thinking about South America?
Well, when I first came to Orange County and started trying to organize the Hispanic community, and my Argentinian friend, Graciela, said, you're always talking about America. Well, you know, America is North America, and South America, and Canada. So it gets kind of confusing for us. You have to just explain which country you're talking about. And I thought America was America. I'm from Puerto Rico, and we're very American. So I said, whoops, point well taken, absolutely. And I've been saying North Americans since.
You have been, so you actually use
absolutely.
Even now,
It's right.
That's great. Good for you. That's very important. And of course, when folks think about the Spanish language, and obviously, for a lot of people who don't understand the Spanish language or don't even know how it's, how many different, are there dialects of the Spanish language, or?
They're not necessarily dialects, although people use that phrase. I think it's easy to use and conveys kind of what you mean. But they are like English. You have Southern y'all,
Mm-hmm.
and you have Northern English,
Right.
and you have British English.
Good point. Yeah.
You know, and you have English in Jamaica and the Virgin Islands,
Sure.
and it all sounds different, and you
And
can
down
tell.
in Louisiana, where you spent a good bit of your life.
Yes, yeah,
yes.
yeah, and it's all different, but it's the
Right.
same.
Right.
In other words, the roots and everything is the same, and you can understand each other.
Sure.
So it's difficult to say it's a dialect as such. To me, a dialect means that you don't understand the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there are many different ways of speaking,
Accent.
especially in
Okay.
the slang.
Mm-hmm.
In the slang. So if you are going to interpret in court, for example, you best be familiar with the community and the different pockets of the community.
And you've had to do that, man,
Yes.
to be able to interpret in court.
Yes, yes,
How have
yes.
you gone about, I mean, having grown up in Puerto Rico and obviously spent much of your life in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
how have you gone about learning the slang or learning the differences in the different communities that are all Spanish-speaking?
Because I'm a social worker, and I had to work in those communities that are growing and needy and so on. So I've learned in Norristown, Pennsylvania, where I
Yes.
first organized a Hispanic community.
Right.
The community was Puerto Rican, so I had really, even though I am Puerto Rican, I had to learn street Puerto Rican and its
boy.
slang. So just being there, that's how I learned it. I didn't take any course or anything. And when I came here, I had to learn Mexican. I just
Right.
surrounded myself with a lot of Hispanic or Mexican clients and friends,
Right.
and that's how you pick it up.
You know, just the way you're just so beautifully dressed. I don't see you getting out into the street, into the slang to learn it, but you've had to. Yeah.
Oh, but I do.
As a social worker.
Oh, but
you
I do.
Yeah,
And I can go out in the street dressed with a mink coat if necessary, and I've done it in Philadelphia on 6 and can't remember the address right now, but
Right.
in the midst of the barrio, I have walked the street in a
Right.
mink coat. They're warm,
Right.
and people just know that you're friendly.
Yeah.
I've never had any trouble in any of the communities that I have gone in.
Is that right, man? Wow. That's fascinating. Yeah. That's very important to share.
Yeah.
Glad you'd open up and share
You just be yourself, and I think people can read what's in your heart, and people can read that you don't mean harm, and everything else runs smoothly.
You have written about in this column over time, and I'm looking at some from late November. You know, some of the column titles are throughout, of course, going online. Folks can go to myrtlebeachherald.com and read a lot of them. Obviously, they can go to 100+ area boxes, get them out, or if they're a subscriber, they can open it up and make sure to open there. The great thing, of course, we've got Solo in America in English and then translated every week for the last almost 4 years now. Susanna and her husband formerly, but both of them as a team, and now Susanna Gabi Russell. I think you mentioned recently to become a citizen.
Our translator and her husband just became a citizen about, I guess, about 6 years ago.
6 years?
I'm sorry, 6 months ago.
6 months ago, yes. They've been here
But it
for...
took them
yeah.
7 years
Wow.
to go through, which is the difficulty of getting a visa and applying for citizenship in this country nowadays.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they had the means because it costs money.
Sure.
And they had their persistence, and they had their children already here and already citizens. So it was a little bit easier for them, if you
Right.
can believe. 7 years, and it was easier. It can be very rough. I'm so glad my great grandparents or whoever it was that came to
Right.
Puerto Rico decided on Puerto Rico instead of the Dominican Republic or Cuba or someplace else.
Because that opened the door for you to get citizenship much more easily?
You don't get it. You are
Right.
born.
You are born, right.
an
Excuse me,
American
very good
citizen,
point.
yes.
Absolutely. That's a very
Yeah,
good point. A
yeah.
lot of folks probably don't think about that because they
Yeah.
know it's Spanish speaking in Puerto Rico. They don't think about it
That's right.
in that role. That's a
That's
very
right.
that's a very good
And,
point.
we are born citizens, and we contribute greatly
Yes.
to the armed forces of
That's
the
a
United
very good
States.
point. Even though, just like Washington, D.C., there's not the representation
That's correct.
in the House or the Senate from either Puerto Rico or some of the other islands, and
Right.
in Washington, D.C., those citizens don't necessarily have the representation.
That's
It's a strange anomaly,
Yes,
obviously,
yes.
but one that I'm sure you've thought about many times. The Great Immigration Debate, let us research and participate, a great column at the end of November.
Yeah.
And again, if folks ever have issues, they can go online. Just go online and take a look at these. And I'm sure you will probably get emails from folks that are interested in how you perceive
immigration is such a hot topic,
right,
and it should be.
yes,
Immigration, the problem that has grown to what we know today, didn't happen overnight,
right,
and it is very complex. And when somebody asks you about immigration and they give you an answer right away, they haven't thought it through.
right.
It's a very difficult topic.
What do you think's the most difficult? Not, of course, this is a community affairs show. It's Thursday morning. It's a couple days after Christmas, but it is an important issue. And of course, we want to highlight some of the other aspects of your column, some of which are not very controversial, like the one even recently, which was a great recipe you had for a great Christmas dish. But what is it that's so that gets folks? I mean, that makes it so controversial, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's the fact that when you get immigrants, you're getting the low end of the social classes, of the educational levels. So you're not getting people like you. Although we tend to forget that there are pockets of low class and lower educated, low value people in the United States already. But what we see is that, and we eventually get into a prejudiced position, and it's easy to point fingers and say, but they do this and they do that and they do that.
Right.
But they're people, and you know, the Statue of Liberty doesn't say, "Give me your wealthy,
Right.
you're intelligent, you know, you're computer scientist." It doesn't say that.
Absolutely
And of
not.
course, you know, if my great grandparents were to migrate today, they may not be able to. They may not be able to get a visa. We forget that.
So many folks that now make up the melting pot would
Right.
not have been allowed today to have made what America is today.
Exactly.
Right. Wouldn't have
Exactly.
set the
But I
stage.
also see the other side of the coin. Don't get me wrong. Remember, I wanted to be in the FBI.
Yes, that's right.
And,
Yes.
You know, I see that, and I see that a lot. And I agree with Sheriff Thompson, who said who's going to write a federal grant in order to be able to determine whether people in jail, immigrants in jail, are legal or not.
Sheriff Thompson's been
Sheriff
working
Thompson
on this.
has been
Yeah.
working on this, and when that happens, I support that. I don't want any criminals in my street,
Right. Right.
but I also know so many more decent people who want an education for their children. And I would like to keep those because I think that they enrich our society.
Right. Right.
I went to a 15th birthday party
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Recently. Yes.
The customs were just so fascinating. It was almost like a wedding, except that the girl walks by herself with her parents and is introduced to the guests that are there. The father changes flat shoes for the girl that the girl was wearing to heels, and it's symbolic of a young woman coming into
The
adulthood
father's doing this for his daughter.
for
Yeah.
his daughter.
Wow.
It
That's
was really
powerful.
interesting. And those are, somebody whispered behind me. I said, wow, that's such a nice custom.
Yeah, that is.
Our
That is.
customs aren't that nice. Of course they are, but you just get used to them,
Right.
and you don't see the
See
symbolism
the
as
symbol,
well.
Of course.
Right.
How powerful. And that was native of what country? Do you
But
remember?
this is a Mexican girl.
Native of Mexico.
Yes,
Native of
yes,
Mexico.
yes,
That's
yeah.
fascinating. Is that something? So down in Mexico, as you say, they would take that for granted. It would be old hat.
Right,
Seeing
right.
it here
And
in
you
the
don't
US.
see the symbolism as
Right,
well. You know, you
right.
don't notice it.
Some of the column titles, of course, there was a great one you had on a racial ethnic myth. We've got about 5 minutes. Men, migration or immigration, obviously. I Miss You, Tio Pepe,
Oh, yeah.
which it was a great piece. Folks need to go back and see that.
That was highlighting my friends in Harrisburg, and how I guess our Hispanicity, I don't know how to say it,
Hispanicity, yeah.
but the fact that you know, our ethnicity has brought us together and kept us as friends, even though we are so far away.
Right, right. Great point.
People from all over California and Harrisburg, of course,
Sure.
where the person was from, came to Tio Pepe to celebrate the 80th birthday of one of our friends.
Wow, wow,
was
man.
fun.
You know, we think about, I don't know if I've ever asked that question, your hubby, is he a big Spanish speaker, Raymond?
Absolutely not.
He has obviously lived and loved and enjoyed his long time marriage to you, even though he speaks a teensy bit of Spanish.
Very little,
yeah,
very little, but he loves our culture,
Yes.
and he'd prefer to go to Mexico on vacation than anywhere else in the world.
Is that right?
Yes,
Wow.
and he tells me he likes women hot. And what was it? Dark
Yeah, you better get this
and
right.
hot.
Yeah,
Yes.
dark and hot. You better get this right.
Like
on
his
camera.
coffee.
Yeah, just like his coffee. That is great. Well, he got one, and of course,
So he likes feistiness, and I think he even likes the fact that when we have a party at home, that we're a little loud. He likes that.
Yeah, good for him. I love it. He
enjoys it.
He's melded very well.
Yes.
He is melded very well. As you go forward and see the column continue to expand, of course, it's important that we highlight Susanna Gabi Russell, and at times, as you know, in the translation, I mean, when we're editing the folks who are editing the Herald on Wednesdays, preparing for it to come out on Thursdays, are principally only able to edit your portion. So sometimes there may be, if there ever, not that anyone would ever edit your stuff, but if there are ever any changes, it's difficult to go change Susanna. Susanna is at the whims, unfortunately, of what she sends in. So we're very dependent on, and that's why we're so thankful that there's literally never any editing on yours, because it makes the translation that much smoother for Susanna.
Her translations are really excellent. I am just so proud of her. And she says she does it a little bit for me because our friendship is so deep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Carolina Language Corporation is she and her husband's her and her husband's company there,
and now she's at Coastal Carolina University with the which is probably something our listeners would like to know.
Yeah.
Is in their adult education.
Great.
Doing wonderful things with Spanish language.
Is that right?
Many courses and trips and all kinds of things.
Son of a gun, I don't think I knew that. Now, Language Links is a piece you've had around for a number of years, man. And is Language Links still going strong, or is it principally just as you've gone into the, obviously working for Horry County Police, you've had to give up a little bit of that?
I have. Whenever people still call me, I usually just give it to someone else.
Right.
So it's really developing, but with some other of my friends, because the need is there.
Of course, yes.
Right.
There's a much larger Hispanic-based population, let's say in Horry County, than folks imagine, or is it?
Yeah, it's always larger than what the U.S. Census say. And it is large.
And it is, as you think about potential column topics over the next 6 months or year, is it really that they're coming to you on a weekly basis? To think now it's been right at 4 years, man. It's amazing to think about. Do these come up on a weekly basis, or do you plan far in advance?
Oh, no.
Yeah,
I'm not a planner.
Yeah.
And that goes with my being a Hispanic. I am not a planner, so they come on a weekly basis with everything that I do. Talk to people, and something comes up that lights a fire and say, hey.
Right. Do you all? I think I may have asked this earlier. Do you all get down to Puerto Rico at all, or
not since I went to my aunt's 90th birthday, so that was before last Christmas. So it's been over a year.
Right. You mentioned Raymond's desire and love of going on vacations to Mexico. Do you all get to travel much now?
No, not as much as we would like to. The job really keeps us from doing a whole lot of that, and because we're really, let's face it, getting old.
Oh no, don't say it, man. Yeah.
Too much time to go to the doctors and the MUSC and this, that, and don't have time left for vacations.
Oh, man.
As much as I like to.
What has been the best part for you of having done a column now the last 4 years in the Herald? And I know you do another one, I believe, somewhere else, or I read about a piece you've been doing. What's been the best part for you?
The research and learning myself. Right. Don't think that because I'm Puerto Rican I know everything Hispanic. I mean, South America is a big country.
Right.
Spain, our mother country, has many humongous number of sayings, of customs and things that I've yet to learn. And finding out that when something is said or is done in my neck of the woods in Puerto Rico, that it really had its origin in Spain. And that's been the fun thing.
The research component and making
The
sure
learning.
folks
It's
understand
learning.
the basics of being more accepting of other cultures.
Yes, yes, yes. Hopefully, I'm hoping the other occurs too with a translation, that the Hispanic people that population is learning about what we think of them. And, not everything I say is positive. There are some negative things that I bring out there, and hopefully they'll help them assimilate better.
Absolutely. Men, thank you so much for coming in this morning. I'm sorry we've run out of time.
You're
Hope
welcome.
you had a great Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
Absolutely. Stay tuned with more Men Alexander, columnist of the Myrtle Beach Herald, coming up next. I can't even imagine what some of the upcoming topics are going to be in Solo in America. It's getting better, kind of like a great bottle of wine, getting better every week, getting better every year. Men's been doing it now right at 4 years, to think of that. Some of these great titles, you can go online. The Invisible Hand of Justice, Equal Access to All. Of course, the opportunity, the South isn't South enough. Viva Valencia, some great columns that Men's been penning. You can go back as far as you like, but go online, myrtlebeachherald.com, or, of course, pick up a copy of today's paper. You'll see a new column out, or, of course, you can always go to area boxes and pick up a copy of the week's paper. Take a look online. Solo in America, she's making a difference. But scroll on down to the bottom and take the time to maybe even get a scintilla of involvement in Susanna Gabi Russell's translation there. It's a special treat to really get interested in the language and see the impact that someone's making a difference every day in trying to reach out to both cultures on a daily basis. Men Alexander, making a difference.